Testing. Testing, testing.
Glass bullet.
Hi. Oh, baby. I don't know what that was. Good morning. Welcome to the Butterfly House podcast with your host, as usual, Osaze Karacha. And I am so happy to be back talking to you, chatting with you, yelling at you via microphone. I had last week off. That might be my thing. Five podcasts, then a little break week, decompress, cool the blood, then come back and hit you again with another 5. You know, we all need breaks. But it feels good to be back, you know. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. People, I'm in a very good mood. It's cloudy right now. That's why I'm singing that. It's very early right now. I'm recording this at like 5 in the morning. Why, are you asking? Why am I recording it at 5 in the morning? Well, people, I've been having a lot of insomnia for the past, week or so. I keep waking up at like 4 a.m., like 3 a.m. Not sure why. Maybe the demons come to me in my sleep and they disturb my slumber. Or it could be like bullshit I've been eating. It could be because I've been hitting the ganja a little too much. I don't know what it is, dude, but I got to get it back on track. And I've been going to the gym, baby. I've been going to the gym. I've been trying to, tire my body out. I'm trying to do the yoga, baby. Trying to do all the things to make slumber time extra pleasant time, but whatever. Around 4, I will awaken. And I figured, let me strike while the iron's hot. I feel good. I'm in a great mood, in a great groove. I had a show last night. Here in New York City. I believe I promoted it in probably the last podcast. And it went great. It went great. Had folks come out. It was just, I don't know, dude. It's been really nice, again, just getting back on stages in this capacity. Because, again, 2019, I was going pretty hard with the shows. I just put out the Glass Bullet album, and I was just doing shows a lot, in promotion of the record and all that kind of stuff, which was great. And then, we all know what happened in 2020. It took everything away. And then 2021, there was like spillover from 2020 pandemic shit. And I also just, I had health issues. I spent all of 2021 just bleeding from my leg and feet, just kind of laying in bed, watching everyone frolic outside and wander in meadows and have fun and go to venues and go to brunches and stuff. So I just spent the whole time, in continued isolation. It's almost like, it was almost like watching all your buddies graduate to the next grade and the teacher makes you stay back, Ain't nobody trying to stay back. But I had to stay back, do some summer courses. This is a metaphor. So yeah, dude, it just felt great to get back on stage. Also just trying to, finagle, because, I do, the shows are different now from in 2019. Like now I brought the guitar into the fold, more singer-songwriters, type songs, more like alternative indie rock type songs. Combined with what I, was always doing to my hip hop core, right? So now it's like, how do I diversify the set in a way that makes sense? So, we working that out. It seemed to go well last night. It kind of feels like my set plays out in a bipolar manner as its creator's brain does. Where it's like the first half of this set, I call it like the nocturnal set. in the sense of just there's more that's like where a lot more of the records that have synths and electronic drums and just more like, music producer programming type shit going on. And then the second set, it feels more like the Sunrise set, where it's just basically just me stripped back with Max, my guitar, and just kind of playing. And it kind of divides that way. And it's interesting. It's probably because it's newer, but I really enjoy these like Sunrise sets. Like, playing guitar live in front of people is really nice. It just feels very fresh, and it feels like a new way to really dig my fingers into the music, and it's cool seeing people react to it positively. Sorry, quick aside here. I love the fact that y'all can't see what I'm doing, like checking on like if all the shit's running and whatnot. The video can see it, but whatever. We the main reason we do this is for the ears, not the eyes. I record this shit because I need extra content because we're in the age of infinite content, and I will get washed up if I don't record videos all of the time. Anywho, back to last night. Yeah, dude, I think, I approached this in an earlier podcast of just, the feelings of nervousness are very interesting, and I love hearing stories about big performers talking about their nervousness with any type of gig. It's almost like nervousness is just part of the gig. So like what outweighs the nervousness, right? I think what ends up outweighing the nervousness is preparation, right? Like if you, and this sounds beyond obvious, but it's real shit. Like if you have done the prep work, like if you have been rehearsing, you have been going over your lines, you have been rehearsing your blocking, you know the choreo, you know all the beats, you know it all, babe. At that point, just, you start reminding yourself of that, and it starts to kind of trump the nervousness where you're just like, wait, hold on. I've literally been playing guitar for like 2 hours every day leading up to this set. I don't think my fingers are gonna fuck up. You start to build up your confidence. And I do think sometimes we overlook practice and preparation. It's very easy to kind of put the important shit we need to do to the wayside. Very fascinating. Human beings, man. Like we're really good at knowing what we need to do and just not doing it. Even if it's stuff, again, that we know will ultimately benefit us for the better, for the positive. But we just won't. and hey, I ain't no saint, dude. There's been and that's what will build up more of my nervousness, where I'll know I have, X amount of time until a gig, and I'll just do a very lackluster amount of rehearsal leading up to it, or at least not comprehensive enough rehearsal leading up to it, and it's like, why the fuck are you doing that, Saz? Don't you like music? Don't you want to be the best? So you think you'd pour your all into it, and you don't. So I think it's kind of just a fundamental flaw of us being us. Not sure if I've told this story, and by the way, people, my memory can often be very, very shot. So there might be points when I reference things that I've actually referenced before. But like my grandmother says, well, if I'm saying it again, then that means it's pretty important. So yeah, in relation to this, like knowing what's good for us but not doing it, one of my favorite moments ever, forgot where I was, forgot what city I was in, but I was in a convenience store and I was behind this man waiting to check out. There's a man in front of me also waiting to check out. Above the little cash register thing where, the fucking dynamic of a gas station, convenience store, where they sell all the sex pills and the phone chargers and all that kind of shit. So above all that, there was like a blown up version of the Surgeon General warning for cigarettes. And, you look up, you read it, and it says, oh, it causes cancer, causes this, could lead to blah, blah, blah. And me and this man are both just looking up, reading it, because we've never seen it. I assume both of us have never seen it blown up to that degree. So then, the guy in front of me, he finishes reading it, I assume. He looks down, and he walks up to the counter, and he's just like, pack of Marlboro Reds. I'm just like, wow. It's like he read that shit, knows what might happen, and he's just like, I don't really give a fuck. And if that felt like a big piece of human nature in a nutshell. I guess another example I often think of is with drunk driving. I know so many folks who drive drunk, and it's almost like you're always like, well, I know that people get in horrific accidents because of this, but that shit won't happen to me though. That's kind of the attitude. That shit won't happen to me. That shit won't happen to me. It's a very interesting type of arrogance that we are saddled with. And it's like it can override our logic. I guess logic is one of our greatest tools, right, as human beings, but it's also one of the most easy programs in our system to override. Say, I know I shouldn't fuck that girl, but I'm gonna fuck that girl. And how do you fix that shit, right? How do you work on that? I guess I'm very big on posting note cards in my home as like reminders of different things to kind of keep my brain in a good place, to keep my eye on the ball. And one of my favorite note cards, it just simply, two of my favorite ones. One of them says, wait 10 seconds, right? So like you're about to do something, you really want to do it, but instead, before you do it, wait 10 seconds. Count. And in that 10 seconds, you really have time to contemplate, is this something I should be doing? Mm-hmm. And then around that same area of the house, there's another note card that just simply says, stop doing that shit. Now, this, I think, is applicable to everybody in some capacity of your life. There's something, and yeah, I don't know you, but I've been around the block, kid, and I can assume there's probably something in your life that you do on a semi-consistent basis that you shouldn't be doing. I believe I made the note card when I was about to order food. New York City living, ordering seamless is very much a way of life. They advertise it on the subway all the time. It's just a big part of the gig is just ordering out. And I remember specifically writing that card, stop doing that shit. Because I'd be ordering food while you have food in the fridge. It's such a betrayal for your higher self. You cooked, you made a meal, you sat there for hours, and you washed the greens, you cooked the lamb chops, you did the whole shit, you washed the dishes afterward, you boxed all the stuff in the Tupperware, you put it in the fridge, you felt good because you prepared meals for the week, you knew as you were doing it, I'm saving money, I know what's going in my food, which is helping my body. Yes, I am responsible. 2 days later, you order fucking calamari from the restaurant that just opened up, a few streets over. So I don't know. I think it's about like taking time. We often, I guess, give in to our impulsivity. I think of myself as a very impulsive gentleman, or at least like I used to be, or perhaps I'm a recovering impulsivity addict. I feel much more in control now. And I think, you start to just kind of look at cautionary tales, you know. I think one of the things that always shakes me out of fully succumbing to just being an impulsive, out of control maniac is I just think about repercussions, like how bad certain repercussions can get. And I think, in the midst, like impulsivity a lot of times is tied to hedonism, right? Like just the pursuit of pleasures, which I get it. And you wander into very hedonistic territory sometimes, or sorry, impulsive territory. And I just like to think about how you might end up in a situation that you really can't come back from. You know, for example, doctors telling me about the cancer thing and where it's at in terms of progression and all this kind of stuff. Hey, don't be a jerk. My cat is just knocking around the water bowl. Obviously, you want more water. I'll get him more water after this. But yeah, he's just hitting the thing. Anywho, doctor's telling me about where my cancer's at and yada yada yada. And then you can easily kind of wander into like full on hedonist territory of like, all right, I'm gonna just do whatever. And the scenario that I think of is imagine just running wild with that, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to Vegas and I'm gonna blow all my money on prostitutes, right? And then imagine you do that shit, and then you probably have a good time. I assume prostitutes are very good at what they do. Like dealing with a prostitute, I assume is kind of like watching LeBron play basketball. You're going to see a very, very high skill level, which of course there's an appeal to that, right? So imagine you do that, and then you go to the doctor, get blood work and all that shit done, and then the doctor's like, hey, we got great news. You're in remission. This is great. Your cancer's going away. That's the good news. Bad news, you got AIDS. Fuck. You just be how mad would you be at yourself? And you'd be so mad at yourself because you know that it's something you brought upon yourself. Now I think the flip side of this is, I guess, having a degree of forgiveness for yourself and understanding for the fact that we are flawed beings who make mistakes, right? So it's like that little balance of holding yourself accountable, holding yourself to a higher standard, but also having space to forgive yourself when you do falter. One of my favorite Kate Bush songs, which is not available on streaming. Only the cool kids know about this one because it's pretty niche. It's called "Be Kind to My Mistakes," and that's another post that I have just hanging up. Just be kind to my mistakes, because in the when you're not kind to your mistakes, sometimes it can make you fly further off the handle, or put you in a position where you feel like there's no coming back from what you did. I was listening to weight loss advice from Fat Joe, great person to listen to workout advice from, and he mentioned something about like in his own fitness journey about how a lot of people, when they kind of go off the rails with some bad eating, they just kind of give up on whatever their fitness goals were because they're like, oh, I faltered, it's over. And I think you got to always halt that line of thinking. Like, just because you fucked up, that don't mean it's over. It's never too late to go home. It's never too late to return home. I mean, unless you die. Death is the ultimate ending. That's why I think death is kind of a bummer. I think, like, yes, it's like this very massive, existentially scary thing because we're thinking about existence and mortality and the afterlife and all that stuff. But, like, bare minimum, worst part about death is that you don't get a do-over. Like, if you had some kind of goal, if you wanted to be the greatest Olympic curler ever, and you're up at 3 a.m. every day practicing, and even if you suck, but you're still up every day practicing, hoping that one day you'll get your shot, you have that shot for as long as you're alive. But then once you're dead, it's like, no more auditions. That's it. Casting director won't see you. They can't see you. And that's kind of why it's the bummer. It's the most bummer part. Dealing with all this health shit, I'm kind of facing down the barrel of the gun in terms of my mortality. And a big thing that I keep thinking about is, for as long as I can remember, my biggest fear was death before I could realize my full potential. The idea of wasted potential it's just it's like it's heavy because I feel like it's one of the it's one of the worst things to kind of ponder. Like, you had the ability of this, but you just weren't able to reach it. And that's different than, again, like having, failures from time to time, like, bombing a gig or not getting signed by a certain label or, all these kind of little setbacks or little trip ups in the journey, but you're still walking down the road. It's just little trip ups. But, to die, it means that you no longer have that chance. Like we think a lot about how, when you fall, you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back in the ring, get back in the race. But to no longer have that ability to get up and dust yourself off is just, well, that's it. Unless in the afterlife you're able to like come back and like possess people in like a good kind of way, like just come back and like, you know, jump into someone's body and then live out your dreams through them. Like, imagine if, you're just some kind of wandering spirit and then some kid is born and you're like, that one. And then you, you jump into that kid's body and then, you get like a second chance at life to try to do all the shit that you couldn't do while you were alive, or that the stuff that you failed at while you were alive, which obviously is how a lot of people, when they're parents, they treat their kids, where it's like, I was never able to be a 5-star chef. So my little Colin here, oh yeah, he's gonna be top chef, And then of course this is how a lot of people end up having these pretty fractured relationships with their kids because they're imposing what they want on their kid. It's like the now I don't know if this is a word, but if it's not a word, it should be. But impositional, I think of and if it's not a word, I'm making it a word. I'm a writer, dude. I have creative license. I can make things up. The impositional nature of human beings. It's kind of like it's not enough for a thing that we do to just be close and important to us and just be for us. We kind of have to make other people also give a fuck about it. I mean, what's the biggest example of this, people? Can you think of the biggest example of this, people? I can think of the biggest example of this, people. Religion, dude. It's like, yeah, my God is really great. You should also love this God. And, I don't really want to. No, you should or we'll kill you. That's basically how human beings work. And I've not to that violent of a degree, but I've definitely been in that space sometimes where, because you're operating from a place of really thinking the way that you think is the right way. Obviously, like, no one wants to go throughout life second guessing the way that they look at life, but there's just a point when that can inflate to where you're no longer embodying the principle of live and let live, man, Which really, if you think about it, that's one of the most base ways to approach existence, I think. If you are living a certain life and someone else is living a different kind of life, just let them do their thing. I think the only time it's really a problem is if the way that a person is living life is dangerous to other people. Now, I don't even mean dangerous to themselves. I mean to other people. Because really, one can make the argument that we we should be allowed to be destructive to ourselves. You know, if someone wants to shoot heroin every single day, that's their choice. But again, these things become a problem when other people are impacted by your behavior, you know, which I guess is kind of like when you think about you know debates over gay rights or debates over abortion or debates over transgender rights, any of this stuff. It's kind of like even if you're on the side of not really understanding those lifestyles, like if you can't understand, the the mind of a transgender person wanting to, like not identifying with how they look in the mirror, or if you can't identify with wanting to be sexually engaged with the same sex. Like if this is all stuff that you can't wrap your brain around because you're of a different walk of life, I feel like that is okay. Like I think it is okay to not understand things. I think because I mean it feels like it's impossible to understand everything, especially when there's certain walks of life that unless you've walked it, you won't really get it. But at the same time, again, live and let live. So if even if like you don't understand what's going on, but those people aren't hurting anybody, then why the fuck do you give a fuck? There's I guess, and I'm sure it happens in other places. Actually, I'm positive it happens in other places, but there's often this idea that backs up these types of, I guess, prejudices as a fight for the soul of a society, right? So basically the idea that, oh well, if we don't nip this type of behavior in the bud, it'll lead to a gradual degradation of society, right? Which quite holier than thou thinking, you know. So then again, the impositional nature of human beings. We now approach everyone else with this kind of yes, I'm doing this for the greater good type of standpoint. And it's funny how that can be such a slippery slope. Like there are things that I guess, because I feel like we all probably have aspects of our beliefs that we kind of approach that way, where we feel like, yeah, the world would be a better place if more people thought how I thought with XYZ. You know, like I'm a vegan, right? I'm a vegan, and I do feel like the world would be a better place if people ate less animal products. I think people would be healthier if they, ingested less animal products. I think I'm a big animal fan, so I do feel like that would obviously help the animal community, right? All this kind of shit. And, vegan vegans get a very bad rep. Is it bad rap or bad rep? It's got to be rep. But people say it like it's bad rap. Anyway, vegans get a bad rep because they're often, I don't know, they can be pretty self-righteous at points, can kind of present themselves as know-it-alls, can present themselves as judgmental. And it's like, I know, like motherfuckers will know where you're coming from of like, yeah, just kind of want motherfuckers to be healthy. But, trying to approach these kinds of things without seeming holier than thou, it's a very like delicate balance. Which is something I think about a lot when I try to talk to people about stuff. Or even like in making songs or making music, I think, making music or teaching or anything, just kind of trying to not come off as holier than thou, preachy, or like beyond reproach. Like, I feel like a lot of the reason people, like a lot of folks I know, aren't really into gospel music or going to church because they feel as though they're being talked down to in a way. Like they're being talked to by someone who is better than them or someone who feels that they are better than them. Where I feel like people people prefer to listen to someone who's also in the mud puddle with them. Not the person talking to you outside of the mud puddle. Someone who's in there in the dirt with you, because there's relatability there. You're not feeling like there's judgmentalness, because you recognize that, yeah, what are we all doing, people? We're all down here just trying to figure it out, man. Simple. And I know that can be kind of a tough balance to strike, but it's worth trying to do it. You know, I feel like a big part of what lets people have patience with other people is remembering that as they are flawed, you are also flawed. You know, like everyone has their own dark pasts or moments of their pasts that are dark, thoughts that are dark, things that they're working on, etc. And I think having that in mind while going about life makes you be a little bit more patient with people. I feel like I'm even patient with, like, I guess, quote, awful people, just because, you know, understanding the process of having to unlearn things, you know, like there's a lot of shit that is pumped into your head upon arrival on this planet. So recognizing that we all are in our own little journeys with unlearning things and growing and trying to figure it all out should make you a little bit kinder. You know, no one wants to be holier than thou. But I know that this is easier said than done, especially when someone is doing some shit that is especially triggering towards you, or they're coming at something that's very important to your life. It can be hard to kind of wrap your mind around their viewpoint. But to be able to wrap your mind around someone else's viewpoint doesn't mean you endorse it. I think this is also part of why, like, I find villains to be very fascinating in movies and media and whatnot. And because, like, when you have a compelling villain, I think what makes a compelling villain is that their reasoning in its own way is kind of sound. Like, you can see how they came to the conclusion. It's like when you took fucking math tests and the teacher always wanted to see your work. So even if you got the wrong answer, they wanted to at least see your work to see how you got to this place, you know? And I think, you know, bare minimum, we can do that, you know? So it's not even making excuses for a motherfucker. It's just trying to understand the reason why. But I don't know, man. I know it's easier said than done. But hopefully we can all go out there a little bit this week and have a little bit more grace with each other, a little bit more patience with each other. You know, hug somebody that you don't know with their consent. And just try to, I don't know, figure it out. You know, good luck.